My husband, 26, and I, 24, female, just bought our first home recently, and we've worked incredibly hard to get here. We don't come from money, and everything we have, we've earned ourselves. We're very close to my side of the family and see them nearly every day. I've always been kind of the black sheep of the family because I'm the only one that has set boundaries. Anyway, a week after my husband and I moved in, my 26-year-old sister sent me an invitation to her birthday party, which she planned to hold at our new house. I want to note that she briefly asked me about hosting the party here a few days earlier, and I told her I wasn't sure because we still had a lot of unpacking to do. Clearly, that wasn't a concern for her, and she went ahead and made the invitation. Days later, she invited extended family who lived several hours away and would need to stay a night or two since we're still settling in. We don't have extra beds or much furniture yet, and my husband and I didn't feel ready to host what felt like a large gathering so soon when we hadn't even planned a housewarming party yet. We work full-time and have limited time to unpack, so things are moving slowly. I told my sister we'd be open to a smaller, more intimate celebration, just immediate family and maybe one or two close friends. I also explained that this move has been a huge transition for me, and I'm still getting used to the new city and lifestyle. While I wanted to celebrate her, I didn't feel ready for a big party. After that, she stopped responding to me. The next day, I went to my parents' house during my lunch break, and my dad came outside to tell me that they didn't want to see me. He said I was being selfish for turning down my sister's request and that I had hurt the whole family. He told me to eat somewhere else. Now, my family refuses to speak to me until I apologize, and they've called me ungrateful and a narcissist. I don't know if I was in the wrong or if I made a big deal about it and unintentionally hurt my family. So, am I the idiot for not allowing my sister to have a birthday party in my house? Not the idiot. No wonder you've had to set boundaries with your family. It's utterly ridiculous that they feel she's entitled to your space. You'd best contact those extended family members before they make travel arrangements, because it doesn't sound like she's going to, or at best, she'll tell them it's canceled and it's all your fault, so you'll look terrible. The entire family seems like they're idiots, to be honest. Who in their right mind demands someone's house for their own private celebration and then badmouths you to everyone? It's like she sees your new home as a party venue rather than respecting your personal space. This is just ridiculous. Tell your family that miscommunication is running rampant because you never gave her an okay to start with. What a nightmare. I was wondering what the sister had said to the family too. Obviously, her truth, not the truth. Honey, your close family is abusing you. It sounds like your sister is the favorite child, while you're the responsible one and therefore must cater to her. What nonsense. I think them not talking to you is a good thing. You should take advantage and just block all of them and be happy with your husband in your new house. My 24 female sister 27 got married last year. She had a child-free wedding. The wedding itself was beautiful, but there were a few things my sister was unhappy with. First, she didn't make a profit from her wedding. In our culture, generally, the monetary gifts you get from guests cover more than the cost of the wedding itself. Couples ideally walk away with more money than they spent. This didn't happen for my sister because our cousins and some of her friends didn't give as much money as they normally would have. They had to pay for babysitting for their toddlers for 3 days. This is mainly because my sister and I are the youngest out of our siblings and are part of the youngest group out of our first cousins as well. All of our older siblings and most of our first cousins have kids. Child-free weddings are not a thing in our culture, so this was a foreign concept to most guests. But most people were good sports about it. Second, some guests she really wanted to be there couldn't make it. For example, our niece, who is 4, has a heart condition, and my brother and sister-in-law are very picky about who can babysit. The list only consists of them and my mom. My sister was gutted when my sister-in-law said she couldn't attend because she would have to stay home with her niece. Overall, most people with kids who came with their spouse gave reduced amounts because they had to pay for toddler care for 3 days. Full babysitting was required, and the people who gave the expected amounts didn't bring their spouse for all of the events, which also upset my sister. Also, some of the older guests who originally would have given the most money didn't come because they thought my sister's concept for her wedding was strange. She was venting to me and saying she just wanted everyone she loved to be there, but she wanted a more adult setting. So, She didn't want kids. She was pointing out how everyone attended our cousin's wedding last week and that she profited from her wedding. She kept asking me why people didn't show up and didn't give as much for her wedding, whether they liked her cousin more than they liked her. I told her that I don't think that's the case. It's just that our siblings and most of our cousins have kids, so logistically, some of them wouldn't make it and or give less because they need to hire babysitters. And I reminded her that while we were planning her wedding, we were talking about how the boomers in our family might not give as much as they would because she's not being family-oriented. She started crying and asked me whether I was saying it was her fault and that it should have been obvious that she would receive less. I told her I wasn't saying that. She called me horrible and is currently ignoring my calls. I mean, did I say something super wrong? Am I the idiot? Wait, you told your sister the truth. Are you crazy? Like, she found out that her choices come with consequences. Gee, she must be in total shock. Not the idiot, you literally just answered the question she kept asking. Yep, heavy is the brick of reality on the strawberry tart of our illusions. Reality is a hard pill to swallow, especially when you're going against your culture to begin with. You understood exactly what was going on, and there was no less love in the hearts of those at her wedding or unable to come. She got an adult event. People made arrangements to come when possible because they love her. She needs to focus on all the effort people made to enable her child-free wedding. That is a large part of their gift, and not all of it is monetary. But everyone she loved was invited. I hope she doesn't have any nieces or nephews old enough to understand what that means for them. I mean, I really don't think I'm a helicopter mom, but I wouldn't let my kids, for a toddler of 3 days, to anyone but my parents or sister. One day, yeah, babysitters for the win. Toddler. 3 days? Not a chance. Your sister sure likes to think of herself as a victim, doesn't she? I'd leave it a sook. I'm 31, female, a wife, and mom to a beautiful little girl, a toddler. I can't really believe I'm in this situation and feel like I'm back in high school. I met my husband, Hogan, 31, in middle school. We dated for 3 years in high school and broke up the summer before college since we would be on opposite coasts. We kept in touch and ended up getting back together when we moved home after school. Hogan was a D1 football player, and I know he had a wild streak in college. Several of my friends from high school attended the same college as Hogan, and they told me that he was a huge player and had intimacy with way too many girls in his first few years. To be honest, I was hurt at the time since I still really cared for him, but we weren't together, so I knew he had the right to do what he wanted. I also was the one who ended things with him, so I didn't think it was fair to me to be upset about him having intimacy with other women when we got back together. I asked Hogan about his time in college and repeated some of the rumors I'd heard. He acknowledged that he had a bit of a wild streak but said he wanted to leave the past in the past and didn't get into the details about his intimate history. He also told me that he would have rather been with me then, so I had nothing to be jealous about. I agreed to let it go since I didn't necessarily think it was my business, and I didn't want to recap every day I went on in college either. We've been together for almost a decade and have been committed and faithful to each other, so I never had a reason to ask him questions about his past. I have a friend from high school named Delaney. We were best friends from 7th grade to my senior year in high school. We were both competitive and a bit immature then, so we drifted apart after graduating. We reconnected later in college and started wishing each other happy birthday and seeing each other a few times a year. We definitely have a unique bond and love for one another because of our past, but we're definitely not close friends anymore. We sometimes get dinner when we're in the same city and congratulate each other on major life milestones, but that's about the extent of our relationship. Anyway, Delaney and her fiancé came to town over the weekend to celebrate their engagement. We ended up meeting them for coffee the morning they left town. The entire time, Delaney's fiancé was distant and a bit abrasive. I got dinner with them once without Hogan, and he wasn't that way at all, so I thought it was strange. At one point, Delaney started telling a story about how she used to let Hogan and me have intimacy while her mom was at work. Delaney's fiancé looked right at me and asked if Hogan had called me back afterward. I was confused by this, and Delaney told her fiancé to knock it off. Later, I asked Hogan why he thought the fiancé made that comment. Hogan asked if Delaney ever mentioned being hurt that they didn't go out again after they had intimacy together. I was shocked because no one ever told me they'd had intimacy together. Hogan seemed confused and thought he or Delaney had told me at some point. I told him no one ever mentioned it and asked why he didn't think that was important information for me to have. Hogan said it happened once freshman year and didn't mean anything to him, so he didn't think it was a big deal. He also said that he felt nervous about it at the time because he didn't want to hurt me, but Delaney said it was just intimacy to her and that she didn't have feelings for him. I said that Delaney had been my best friend for years. They met through me, and we have a friendly relationship now. I told Hogan he made me look like an idiot because I've been getting meals with her for years and had no idea she had intimacy with my husband. She even came to our wedding. To be clear, I'm not upset with either Hogan or Delaney about what happened in college. Hogan and I weren't together then, and we were all young and stupid. I'm upset that he didn't tell me after all these years. Hogan insists that he didn't think it was a big deal since it only happened once, and he had intimacy with so many girls in college. He also says he didn't want to be disrespectful and told me about every girl he had intimacy with when we weren't together. He insists that he thought he'd mention the Delaney thing at some point and truly didn't think it was a major thing. I'm not sure if I'm overreacting, but I'm really hurt and disappointed that he never told me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your friend broke the girl code, whether you were together or not. You are not intimate with your bestie sex. And if you do, you don't go back into their lives without disclosing you had intimacy with him. If they had told you from the jump, you would have been able to make an informed decision about how you felt moving forward. Now you're married and with a baby. I'd be hurt too. They both broke code. Everyone has a past. I don't care who my spouse has been with unless it's my best friend. He knows he never told you that, but now he's gaslighting her. That would bother me more than what they did. You, her fiancé, knew but you didn't. Yes, your husband could have exercised better judgment, but he probably thought you two weren't getting back together. However, he should have told you, especially since you were keeping up the relationship with Delaney. I guess he didn't want to share something that would make him look bad or threaten your reconciliation. It's so easy to damage trust with a secret. Also, her fiancé being upset is still a flag. I guess they weren't together, so why is he upset if it meant nothing? Why did Delaney share it with him? I think she told her fiancé not to tell you as well. Girl, sorry to tell you that, but she was never your friend and never respected you. I have a coworker, Mike 30 male, who constantly steals people's food from the office fridge, including mine, has been a source of frustration. I've called him red-handed twice, but he always plays dumb or says, "Oh, I thought it was mine." Fine. HR has done nothing since there's no proof, and it's not worth escalating further. Last week, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I made a special lunch of pasta with extra hot ghost pepper sauce. For context, I handle spice pretty well, but this stuff is lethal for the unprepared. I clearly labeled the container with my name and put it in the fridge. Sure enough, Mike was coughing, red-faced, and downing water at his desk within an hour. He yelled at me, asking why I brought hazardous food to work and accused me of trying to hurt him. I calmly replied that it was my lunch, clearly labeled, and asked why he ate it if he knew it wasn't his. Now, some coworkers are calling me petty and saying I overreacted, while Mike was definitely joking. While others think Mike deserved it, HR sent out a generic email about fridge etiquette but hasn't directly addressed him. Mike hasn't stolen anything since, but he's giving me dirty looks and avoiding me. Am I the idiot for my spicy lunch? Not the idiot he will never take your lunch again after this? Just make sure to never admit that you did it to set him up. If anyone asks, you just love spicy food, and that's why you made your lunch spicy. And any colleagues who call you petty or say you overreacted because Mike was joking about stealing their lunch are idiots too. Yeah, the Mike was joking took me out, like what, joking when he ate my prepared, clearly labeled lunch, leaving me with nothing, or joking when he couldn't hold his spice reflex. These people can continue to get their food stolen, mess around, and find out Mike. I do the exact same thing, also start taking personal things from his desk and throwing them away. If he asks about it, just say you have no idea, but it's probably the same person who's stealing others' food. But it is important never to take anything and to keep it always thrown away in the communal trash cans. My wife and I got married a couple of years ago, and so far, things have been going smoothly. However, my wife seems to have taken the vow to forsake all others quite literally. I can't deny that my wife loves me. She loves me a lot, and I couldn't ask for a better partner. However, Ever since we married, she's become quite clingy and emotionally overdependent on me. She's even sort of neglected her family, and they aren't on the best of terms with her. She says her priority is only me, and she will always put me first. She doesn't care what anyone else thinks. She says she made the vow to forsake all others, and she plans to uphold it. Now, of course, I appreciate that, but there are better ways to healthily navigate a relationship. My wife wants me to become more like her, where I too only focus on her and no one else. For example, the other day, my wife got sad when I was on a call with my sister and didn't immediately hang up because she needed something. There have been a lot more examples like this. Last night, my wife and I were talking about priorities, and I told my wife that, of course, she would always be my number one priority, and that would never change. I told her my sister is a close second, and my father is a distant third. I'm in local contact with him, and I told my wife that when we have kids, they will be the number one priority alongside her. But I told her I wasn't going to forsake all others just because we're married, and it wasn't healthy. My wife seemed really sad about this answer, and she even cried, so I had to console her. Am I the idiot for what I told my wife? I feel really bad about it for making my wife feel this way. I thought what I said was normal for all relationships. Not the idiot. Your worldview appears healthy, but your wife's is not. Unsolicited advice. Your wife badly needs a social circle outside of you, a hobby, job, or a different one if she's working. Nobody can be anybody's everything. That's teenage infatuation, not how love works. Oh my heck. Forsake all others refers to marital fidelity, not cutting friends and family out of your life. It's not fair for her to alienate everyone and put that pressure on you to meet all of her social and emotional needs. She needs a short, sharp shock to reset her twisted view of marriage. I agree, your wife might need some therapy, especially before you have children. She might literally grow jealous of any love you have for them. It might not be intentional, but her obsession with you could lead her to neglect or abuse a child that gets in the way. Also, her sadness might be a type of depression. Please take her to seek counseling or therapy to develop healthy interests. Your wife is codependent to an unhealthy level. I'm getting claustrophobic just reading about her.